It's often emphasized that studies consistently find that working to an older age or working longer has both a number of positive physical health benefits and psychological benefits in addition to financial benefits. Intuitively, this makes sense to all of us because the workplace is an important source of one's friends and social support. One's job offers a sense of identity and status. I think we'd all agree that working longer is an attractive option if it means staying in a career job with good pay, respect, and interesting job duties, or if it means choosing a job in a field that you always wanted to pursue, or if it means having a job that provides an opportunity to engage in socially meaningful work and make a contribution. Unfortunately, these aren't the work options experienced by the majority of women and a substantial number of men in the U.S. labor market. Nor is it the reality for many older workers who are more likely to be employed in the service or retail industry, jobs that typically pay lower wages. And it has definitely not been the experience of most of the CSAP participants. Recent research suggests that the type of job is the critical factor. Working in an undesirable job washes out the potential positive effects of work. I want to emphasize strongly that CSAP's community service focus offers many lower-income seniors the opportunity, and perhaps the first opportunity in their working lives, to be involved in paid, socially meaningful work. Because CSAP and other programs such as Retired Senior Volunteer Program and foster grandparents offer wages and stipends, they do not make income a barrier to being able to give back. Programs such as these bring us closer as a society to creating a more inclusive model of civic engagement. As Amanda McBride at the Center for Social Development at Washington University emphasizes, access is the gold standard by which we judge a civic role to be inclusive. She notes that older adults must be eligible to and able to perform the civic role, but equally important, that role must also provide the necessary inducements and supports for their involvement. I know Tony has already presented data from the DOL Commission study underscoring CSAP's 46 million hours of service annually. Oops, I think I slid by a slide, but that's okay. And the benefits of this service to nonprofit organizations as well as senior participants. In a forthcoming volume I co-edited with Paul Maiden on the older worker and the changing labor market, we have a chapter by Ronald Aday and Gail Cahoe based on their study exploring the impact of CSAP on 113 older workers in 3 sites, and I think they were sites of Senior Services America. They too found that the vast majority of surveyed workers reported a sense of greater empowerment and self-esteem, as well as a heightened sense of being in control of their lives as a result of participation in the older worker program. Moreover, most participants also developed strong social connections. That is, most felt they had made close friends at the program and could rely on these people if they needed help. Perhaps I can best illustrate the impact of CSAP through the voices of 3 of the interviewed workers. The first person said, "This program has given me the opportunity to prove that I can still be a person on whom you can rely and on whom you can count. Every day I learn something new. Even as a senior, there's a feeling of being treated with dignity and respect." The second, "It's given me new goals and enabled me to use my skills and potential to help other seniors." And finally, "I now have confidence in knowing that I can still do a job, and I know I can do it well." It's evident that CSAP has made impressive strides in empowering older workers. Thus, in closing, I want to challenge us as professionals and advocates in the aging field to become more powerful voices in bringing a social justice perspective to our nation's conversation about baby boomers' employment and civic engagement in their retirement years. As a society, we must understand what are both the promises and the pitfalls of a public policy shift of encouraging older adults to stay in the workforce longer for both working class and middle class Americans. Working longer in undesirable jobs is not what most Americans want. If Americans desire greater flexibility or fluidity between work, retirement, and volunteerism, how do we create this option for older Americans across all economic strata? And finally, how do we ensure that community service remains a cornerstone of CSAP and continues to offer lower-income seniors access to socially meaningful work? Thank you.
Well, I think we've got 10 minutes left for some questions. Open it up.
I was glad to hear you mention the issue of lower-income seniors having something to offer. Mark Friedman was in Michigan 2 weeks ago, and I was responding on a panel with him. And I raised the issue, I'm from Detroit, that lots of our seniors cannot get, quote, civically engaged because they lack income and transportation and other resources, even though they have a lot to offer. So I think on the public policy arena, we have to discuss the other supports that are necessary to help baby boomers who are not well off to be able to offer what they can.
Absolutely.
You know, I was listening with a great deal of interest, and I'm trying to cast this out. Do you think a time will come when we have too many people competing for the same meaningful part-time social service work? And will there be the infrastructure in the community non-for-profit sector to supervise and support and mentor them? I almost started to laugh, but I could see, well, I want that job. I want that job. That's a good meaningful job. I want that one.
Yeah, I think you raise a wonderful point. One of the key questions are our nonprofit and public organizations gearing up to think about volunteerism in a different way? I hear a lot from seniors who say, I go to volunteer and they want me to stuff envelopes. And I have these talents, I have these skills, and I have this expertise, and they're not using it. And I know this is being recorded, so I need to be careful what I say. I think there's an elephant in the room sometimes, that there's a competition or concern that volunteers take away paid jobs. But you raise, I think, the interesting point that is being addressed. It takes resources to manage volunteers. It takes resources to use volunteers well. So I think there is opportunity for new paid positions. I also think we have such a dichotomy right now. Volunteering is about doing something without pay. A job is doing something for pay. And I think what we're saying is that we need to break down that barrier, particularly if we want to reach out to lower income individuals, because volunteers may require pay, it may require wages, it may require transportation. We have to think differently if we're going to do this in a more inclusive way.